without limits or judgment. A place for you and people like you to tell your most effed up stories. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Effed Up Stories. I'm your host, Will Pender.
And I am your co-host, Ryan Sharp.
And our show tonight may have an answer to one of the most perplexing questions regarding the Black-Eyed Kids. But before we get into that, I'm going to tell you about some of the big updates I've been making to effedupstories.com that will make our site and podcast much more exciting for us and for you. I've recently added a member section to the site, and if you want to get into the action, then get onto the site right now and register. From now on, we are going to be doing live podcasts. Members will be able to access the live podcast section, and in that section, we have a live instant chat window, and of course our podcast will be streaming live. So this means that you will be able to ask us questions and point out details during the episode, which will help shape it, and while we're recording it, it's a chance for you to become part of the show rather than just being a listener. The other major section that I added to the site is an online store. So this is your chance to build your own Effed Up Stories collection, and every episode is available for purchase right from the beginning in MP3 format. Each episode can be had for the low price of $1.49 Canadian, and everything you buy will be tied to your account, which means that you can download anything you buy on as many devices as you want, as many times as you want, as long as you're logged in. So for those of you who want more episodes and more often, now's your chance to give us incentive. On an off note, I've just started offering my services as a freelance web developer. As you already know, Effed Up Stories has gotten quite popular, and that all started from my website. So I'm a well-educated and experienced web developer, so if you would like your own website on the paranormal or anything else, check out my freelance site at mywebscape.com. That's mywebscape.com. I offer cheap prices, and you can pay by the hour or get a flat rate. So just come to the site, check it out, and you get a free quote. And with that said, have you ever wondered where the Black-Eyed Kids come from? What are they? What they want? Our guest tonight has the first and only case I have ever heard that may answer these questions. But I have to warn you, the answer is quite creepy. Hello, Kathy, and welcome to the show.
Hi, Will. Hi, Ryan. How are you?
We're good.
We're great. Thanks.
So, Kathy, going back to your story, now we had discussed this in email. You had a very strange, I will say actually rare experience with, black-eyed children. It's a technical term, but of course there are adults with this same physical appearance and mannerisms. Let's go back to the start.
Okay.
Tell us what we need to know.
Okay. Well, I had an encounter, which now I know is a phenomenon. At that time, that was in 1998, beginning of September, and it was right after my brother's death. So maybe I should go a little before so you can get a little background before I go into the encounter. Would that be a better idea? Or
Sure. Sure.
okay. So my brother died in 1998, and then all of a sudden I found out that he was married the day before. So now all of a sudden he and I had a falling out like maybe 5, 6 years prior. So I really didn't know anything about his life all those years. Now all of a sudden I find out not only did he die of a heart attack, which he was only 34 at the time, that I also have a new sister-in-law. And not only that, but none of his immediate circle friends, they were all surprised too that he had gotten married, because that's not really his style. He's been married once before. I didn't even know he had a divorce from the first one. So, but the second wife did pull out a wedding certificate, some photos that they had taken the day before. They went to City Hall, and supposedly he took off that week from work so he can settle his affairs, like change names on his life insurance policies and all that. And so anyway, now all of a sudden I got this new sister-in-law, and I jumped right into trying to befriend her, help her. But when I first laid eyes on her, my immediate thought to myself was, how do I not know she killed him?
It was.
But,
Sorry,
yeah.
it was very suspicious circumstances, and as you said, by on account of everybody who knew him or your brother, it was very out of character to begin with for him to go out and just get married and not tell anybody.
Exactly. It was a total shock and surprise. No one knew. So, but because I was guilty and all this stuff, I kind of just slapped myself and just said, don't be like that. And, I just wanted to be a good friend to her and try to help her, thinking that she's this helpless widow. I felt sorry for her at the time. So I started spending a lot of time with her, almost every day. And by the way, I don't know what happened at this time, but all of a sudden I'm limping. I did a lot of sports and everything, but all of a sudden I just had this big limp on my knee. I had to pull out my old crutches. And so I'm going to her house. She didn't live too far away from where we were living at the time. I was living in a basement apartment. And this is New York City, by the way. So I was hanging out with her just about every day, and I find that she's a little pushy, and she had all this stuff around her neck, like beads and crystals and things like that, and she had this crystal bracelet. She told me she spent about $300. She says, nobody can touch this. So I thought that was kind of weird, but, she was a Buddhist. I'm not a Buddhist, but, I thought it was a weird Buddhist thing.
So were these trinkets like, I guess what you like, what it sounds like to me, and like the way you described them in emails, like things that people who visit like magic shops might wear, like people who are into, Ryan, you used to study like magic crystals.
Well, yeah. I mean, you had gemstones and amulets and poultices, and there's a whole array of occult bric-a-brac that you can acquire. That's for sure.
So is that what it looked like? Was more like I guess a cultish.
Yeah, I think so. But she did have a thing around her neck also that also looked like a satchel of some kind too, like something like she had something in it, like stuff. But I never saw it. It was around her neck, a bunch of stuff.
Okay, so so you meet this woman for the first time.
So that's my new sister-in-law, Jessica. By the way, that's her anglicized name because she's of Korean descent.
Okay.
So anyway, I befriend her, I hang out with her, and I remember her telling me, you got to meet my friend. She's coming from California. She's really powerful. She's a psychic. And I'm wondering, why do I need to meet this her friend for? Coming all the way from California just to meet me.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I mean, when you think about it. But go on.
Yeah, and I just met this girl, so I go to her apartment, which was really the apartment she shared with my brother before he died. And so this lady from California who spoke no English, she knelt before me. Now, I was on crutches, remember, I couldn't walk. And the first thing she says, now she didn't speak English, so my sister-in-law had to translate. So first thing she says is, your brother did that to you, meaning crippled me at the time, so I couldn't walk. Because I swear I didn't injure it, or I did a lot of sports, but I didn't do it from that. I just woke up one day I couldn't walk. So I was really shocked when she told me that. She says, by the way, your brother did that. Oh, before I get into that, she says that I'm real. She tells my sister-in-law that I am really powerful. And I said, nah, not me. I wasn't really into all this stuff,
Now, she meant that in like a psychic way.
Yes, powerful in a psychic way, and I didn't believe it at all. I said, no, not me. And then she stated, well, you are, but you just you're not open to it, which probably is true.
Okay.
So then she said, your brother did that to you, meaning crippled me so that I could kind of to stop me, because really, to be honest, I'm like, go, go, go. I'm super like a maniac about working out. So, all of a sudden I'm on crutches. So that kind of opened my eyes a little bit, to listening to what she had to say. And she says, now I was already kind of, suspicious about my brother's death. He was too young to die like that, supposedly of a heart attack. So this psychic girl goes to, your brother's going to come to you in a dream, to you and your niece, and she was 12 at the time. So I figured the reason she picked me and my niece was because my brother, even though we had a falling out, we were really close, and my niece, was like his love, so we were probably the two most important people in his life.
Kathy, just one thing I wanted to point out, just so everybody knows, I can't remember if this was brought up, but now it was already suspicious when your brother died,
yes.
but it was the next day after he was married, I believe.
The very next day, the very next day.
Okay, so yes,
yeah.
Very, very suspicious. So go on.
But I don't think, maybe. Okay, I need to explain that in the Asian culture, they don't open their mouths about things like that. Oh wait, if someone dies, they just let it go. Except I'm not like that.
Yeah.
They think it's part of life, so they don't try to question it or anything like that.
Well, I guess because you were brought up in like a New York culture.
Yes. So, and I got this thing about me where maybe that's part of my power, so-called power, that I got this thing where if something's nagging at me, I don't let it go. I just don't. And I know I will continue. I will go and dig up and do research and until I prove that I am right.
So you have a very keen sixth sense.
Yeah. So anyway, like she said, that my brother supposedly was going to come to our dreams and will tell us who did this to him. In other words, killed him, because I already, maybe they, she picked up on the fact that I already felt suspicious about this death. But, I'm thinking everyone did, but they didn't want to say anything.
Okay.
Okay, just so you know, I never did get these dreams or anything like that, but, I welcomed it. So, not even long after that, maybe a couple of days after, my sister-in-law says this, and I got these friends from Korea, they're coming to visit, and I asked them to bring a gift just for you and my niece. And I'm thinking, wow, that's really nice.
Yeah.
And, she spent a pretty penny doing this, and I don't understand. I never met these people. Why me? But they brought these gifts all the way from Korea, right? So mine was a bedding set, with the top sheet, bottom sheet, pillowcase, bedspread. It was beautiful. I really needed it too. It was beautiful. My niece, they got her kind of like a padded sleeping bag, like a quilted one. Because at that time she used to sleep on the floor.
Yeah.
So, I started, right away, the two of us, we used our, our new gifts and everything. And, by the way, I never did get those dreams from, who told me. But I kind of figured that it was to throw me off on what my suspicions were. And should I fast forward and tell you what my suspicions were, or should I go on to the encounter?
Well, I mean, at this point in the story where you're just meeting the people, maybe do the suspicions and then jump back to the encounter.
Okay, well, my suspicions were, and I didn't figure it out until months later. The reason I did not get these dreams, now she was already trying to make me believe in kind of that my brother's best friends who were a married couple, she tried to make me believe it was them, that they're into witchcraft and everything. So I think that whole thing was about me being suspicious about the married couple.
Well, that's already
throwing off the blame. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it's already kind of fishy because I mean, it would be like if you knew somebody who went hunting and you were a hunter, and one of your relatives got shot hunting, and you're just like, well, I know these people who are hunting, and they're always hunting, but you are one too.
It's a bizarre, accusation to make against somebody too. We're like, well, a witchcraft was used in the death of your brother.
Well, yeah,
that's a pretty bizarre assertion to make.
Oh, that's what I was thinking too. Like that's weird and whatever. But she did, because of my already suspicious of the death. She knew what she was doing. It was like all set up. I was being played.
Oh, certainly, it definitely sounds like it.
So fast forward me months later when I started piecing all this together, and it took me a few months. I figured out the reason I didn't get that dream was because I'm encased in these sheets. If you think about it, I got the sheets under me, I got the sheets over me, the bedspread, everything. So in other words, I felt like this was a thing to block that. She didn't want me to know who did this to my brother.
Well, let's reinforce this a little bit because to really appreciate this scenario, I mean, just tell us a little bit about Jessica, and of course, when you went there, because you invited her to Montreal with you, and she wanted to get these strange things at like a herb shop, I guess you'd call it.
Well, I believe that was after the initial encounter.
It was after that incident. It was after me meeting these, because I'm just meeting her now, and all of a sudden I met the psychic, I met the friends, and this was after the mourning period that we took a trip to Montreal together, and I mean, for me, it was a thing where I felt like my brother would have taken her there, because as children, he and I, we used to enjoy Montreal very much. We used to come, we're native New Yorkers, so we used to come to Montreal with the family, and we had happy memories there. So I thought that for sure my brother would have taken her there. That was my objective. But hers was, all she kept talking about was, you know what, they have beers in Canada, right? So I want to find an herb shop where I can get these dried up bear balls. And I don't know what she said she's going to make something with it. I didn't really I'm like, are you serious? I said, well, I know a couple of herb places. I'll take you there. And also the other thing she was very keen on getting was a fox's vagina. I was so embarrassed. I did take her to a fur, like a store that I bought hats from once before for hats, and I was so embarrassed to ask if they had a fox's vagina. I don't know what she was going to do with that, but I was so embarrassed. I never showed my face there again, I'll be honest with you.
Well, so there are stores. Well, I guess it must be regularly used in different rituals. But there must be stores that are set up for that purpose, or was this just, where?
Well, the reason. I'm sure there's got to be something, but I think the reason was in the United States. I don't think cause her whole thinking was, oh, Canada bears. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because she knew what the going rate was in the United States for these things, which is like black market, it was going for about, at that time, and that was 15 years ago, $500, she told me, U.S. And so when I did take her to the herb shop here in Canada, in Montreal, I took her to a place, and they had it, for 300. She was like so happy. Now that was back when I remember the dollar being like so much stronger, the U.S. dollar being so much stronger than the Canadian dollar back then. I remember it being like 1.5 or something, you know?
Yeah.
So 300, I think it was 300 Canadian, actually. So she was about to buy a bunch of them. But she says, let me just buy one. I'm going to test this out. So she knew how to test it to see if it was real and everything, too.
So she was obviously very schooled in you
Oh,
know
yeah.
the different whatever magical practices that she was particularly employed in.
Well,
Yeah, I just thought it was some weird, like, I don't know, Buddhist thing, to be honest. I went with her to one of her temples and everything, and, like they were, for the morning period, they don't eat meat and all that stuff, and, so I'm just thinking this is a weird Buddhist thing, right?
well, tell us how she tested the bear balls.
Oh, yeah. So she bought the one set, and she said, let's stop at the liquor store. Now, we were staying in a hotel at that time. She goes, let's stop at a liquor store. She buys a little bottle, the smallest bottle you can get, like you get in the hotel, mini bars, a bottle of gin, because it's clear. She takes it, and we take it back to the hotel room. She peels this dried-up ball. She says, I'm going to mix some of this powder in there. I'm going to shake it up, and if it turns green, then it's the real thing. If it turns brown, then it's like from a boar, and they're just passing it off as a bear ball, right?
Yeah.
And, yeah, sure enough, she pierced it. She took the powder out. She mixed it all up, and it turned brown. And she said, I'm going to have to take this back. And we did. We went back, and next day she returned it. And not even the lady that was that owned the shop, not even did she know how to test this.
So she's like very, very into, like, she knows things that, you'd have to be adept at what you're doing to...
Yeah. So, I thought that was all weird. So, like I said, I was spending so much time with her in those days that I just started seeing all these things. And, here I am mourning about the death of my brother, but all I can hear on her side was these little things that were like, these were more important, which that's another red flag, and talking about insurance money and things like that, and suing and all that stuff. Like if someone that's close to you die, you don't talk about these things.
She should be bawling or be beside herself.
Right. So, okay, so anyway, one night, we're going back to before that incident, the trip to Montreal. This was immediately after the funeral. I'm still spending every day with her, and I'm at the apartment, and, I'm talking to my friend, my best friend, Jackie, on the telephone. She was working late, and she's telling me about her upcoming trip to, Las Vegas, that she's got to spend time with her father and her stepmother, his second wife. And she's really nervous about it and everything because, the lady, she's into Santeria. So here I am telling my new sister-in-law, I said, hey, my best friend, she's kind of nervous because, it seemed like she would know after hearing her talk and knowing all this stuff, I figured she might know what to do. So right away, Jessica says, well, tell your friend to come over when she's finished work. My friend says, are you sure? Because I'm getting off of work at like 1:30. I won't even get there till like after 2. And so Jessica says, no, tell her to come over. It's all right. We'll wait. Now, they never met, so that's another thing. Wow, that's really nice of her, right?
Yeah.
So my friend was actually so touched. She goes, wow, that's so nice. She doesn't even know me, She was really touched. So my friend comes over. They're downstairs in front of the apartment building. Now it's starting to lightly drizzle. It's like lightly raining. My sister-in-law, she has these things that she burns. They're kind of like incense, but it's like a dried-up leaf. She rolls it up in a ball. It's supposed to be like, works like sage, but an Asian version.
Okay.
She burns it, and so she rolled them up into balls. She put some in a bag. She had one out. She started burning it. She put it on a metal plate. So We're downstairs in front of the car. It's like lightly raining. She takes these, like the smoke and everything on the plate. She walks around the car about three and a half, three times. Goes into the car, fills it up with smoke with the windows up, and then she lowers the window so the smoke can go out. So she gives the rest of the balls to my friend. She says, you burn one of these every day when you're in your hotel room, and that should protect you. So we're like, wow, that's really nice,
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
So.
To go through the trouble,
Oh, certainly. So, what was the reason that she spread this smoke inside the car? And
I think it's like if you ever heard of how sage works, or
to
like
cleanse
to
it.
ward off supposedly protection, ward off evil, and things like that.
Yeah, it's used in a lot of different religious and magical practices where they put the herb or whatever's being burnt in something called a censer. It's usually like a metal ball with holes in it, and they light it on fire and then swing it around, and the smoke comes out, and it's supposed to cleanse the air and clear spirits out.
No, I was just wondering if, I know that they use it to, to treat haunted houses.
Okay.
But I was just wondering, did anything happen? Usually, there's a reason why they would go and cleanse, say, a house or something like something that they believe is there. Was there anything that she had said was in the car, or a reason why she would?
Oh yeah, well, my friend, the one that has a second, the stepmother, as that's into Santeria, which she found proof. She had gotten into 2 car accidents in that same year.
And this was the one. I believe she found some kind of weird stuff in her car that confirmed that it had been like a witchcraft or something.
Not in the car, in the lady's. Okay, for instance, her father was living with now the second wife, and at one point her younger brother was living in that house. So one day, this is going back years ago, she told her brother when they weren't around, go into that lady's closet and tell me what you see. And the brother found a black cloth. Inside there was some hair, some nail clippings. So her suspicions about this woman was right.
So she was probably putting a hex on the. Now did she?
Her, yeah.
Did she tell Jessica that
No, didn't. No, they had just met when she came over with the car and everything. They had just met.
So it's almost like she knew, or like she had planned, or it's like, you know what I mean, like.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, I didn't yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And
so
why the rush? Like, okay, tell her we'll wait. No, tell her no matter what, she should come by and whatever time she gets off. Like that was so important to her.
Yeah. It does raise a couple flags for sure.
Mhm.
Okay, so she goes through the car with this incense and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And what happens next?
Well, now I'm looking back. I don't really think that's what she tells me that's what that is. Now I'm looking back, months later. I don't really think that's what that was because, my friend gives me a ride back home, which is like not even a 5-6 minute ride. We're parked in front of my house, and to the left of the house, we're facing the house on the corner. And, we just started talking in the car. I hadn't seen her in a while, so we're just catching up, talking. We're not even thinking about it. It's now after 2:30. Still raining, lightly raining. And I see a girl the top of the block walking alone. It's now like 2:30 in the morning. She looks about 18, 19 years old, Korean. I've never seen this girl in the neighborhood ever before, and I never seen her after that day. So I see her walking by herself, no umbrella. This is now mid-September, so it's kind of cool, especially if it's raining, wearing a white T-shirt, a mini skirt, and just walking by herself. And not on the sidewalk, but in the middle of the street, coming towards us. We're still talking. I'm thinking to my back of my head, I'm thinking it's kind of weird, but, I'm still talking. And this girl walks in front of us, in front of her car, stops facing me, passenger side, bends down to my eye level, and gives me a stare down. We're having a staring contest for a solid 2-3 minutes. Solid.
And did your friend say anything? Because I remember when you told this, and I thought, how bizarre. It's bizarre anyway. And I just a reference. I mean, you did draw me a diagram, which I thought was great, by the way.
Okay.
She slowly turned, like she didn't just make a beeline, like she was walking in the middle of the street and just angled herself on just this, kind of
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
slight curve.
she's slowly walking towards us, but she's walking closer to me on my side. And, but we didn't expect her to stop right in front of the car and bend, just bend right down in front of me, directly in front of me, bend down and like steers me down.
That's pretty creepy, especially 2:30 in the morning.
Very. But if I have this thing inside me, I'm a fighter, and she stares me down, I'm staring her down. You know what I mean? Like I was in fighter mode, to be honest. And so we had this staring contest. Meanwhile, my friend, I think she didn't say anything at the time because she was kind of shocked,
Yeah.
We're staring each other down for like a solid 2-3 minutes. Then the girl slowly gets up, not saying anything, slowly gets up, starts walking, towards the driver's side, which is my friend's side, and then walks past the car. So at the same time, I was like, what the, F was that? And my friend says, what was that all about? Like the two of us, we were just like, what was that all about? We turned around, and this thing was gone. Like we wanted to see where it was going. Gone, disappeared. No, you don't see the back of her. Gone.
And there was nowhere that she, like in the amount of time that you guys have taken to turn around, there's nowhere she could have hidden.
No way, no. So, and we saw like, as a matter of fact, behind us is like apartment buildings, and there's only one way, two ways you can turn, and it was disappeared. As soon as we turned around, gone. We saw no sight of her.
How long
Zero.
did you guys wait before you turned?
Oh, I mean, almost immediately after we said, "Oh my God, what was that?" That was weird. What's that all about? And then we like turned around, let's see where she's going, and like gone.
Just gone. Okay, so
Yeah.
you guys are sitting
Yeah.
there. She disappears. What happens next?
So, we're sitting there for like a couple minutes going over her. Wow, that was really weird. Wow, and I was like, did you see her eyes? They were like black, And we're talking about that too, because when I first saw her, I didn't notice the black eyes. Maybe I don't think it was black. If it was, I didn't notice it because it was dark. But then I realized, she had black eyes.
So we're talking black-eyed kids black.
Yes, and I had no idea. This is back in 1998. I did not know what this was until recently. I realized, this is a phenomenon.
When you were having the stare down with this woman,
Yeah.
did she have any facial expressions or?
No, zero. Just like blank. Just like innocent looking. I believe that's all part of it to just throw me off. There was like physically, she was not transparent or anything. She's as three-dimensional like you and I.
But she had a very, very. She gave off a very strong negative presence.
For me, yes, yeah. You felt uneasy, uncomfortable at first, and then like deep inside, even though I stared her back, I was really scared. I'll be honest.
Now, one thing that's typically reported with face-to-face encounters with the BEK or the black-eyed kids is this sense of being mesmerized or hypnotized almost. Did you get that at all as you were staring?
Yeah, almost like that's what she was trying to do. That's probably why she was staring me down.
Now,
but I also felt that she was testing me as well.
So now another thing that was different about this case, and of course we're going to get to some of the rest of this encounter in a second, but she, of course, she wasn't a child. You said you believed she looked to be around the age of 18?
Yeah, 18, 19, like that.
And she was Asian.
Yes.
So, like, for all intents and purposes, I mean, she really fit the profile of the neighborhood.
Yes, that's what it is, because it's an Asian neighborhood.
Okay, so what happens? I mean, she walks behind the car, she disappears.
And we were like, where did she go? And we're just like, oh, well, so hopefully she's gone, we're thinking, right? So we're going back into, talking. And like another 10 minutes go by, and you know what? I'm looking at her, she's looking at me. That girl's face was right by her window, her driver's window.
So right up to the glass?
Excuse me?
Was she right up to the glass? Like
Right there, yeah. Her face was right at the glass window, yeah.
Okay.
like she bent down and put her face right there. And that was behind my friend because my friend's facing me. And my eyes must have jumped because my friend says, well, why are you looking at me like that? Don't tell me she's right there. And I go, yeah, she is. And now I'm kind of mad. And I go, you know what? Roll down your window. Let's see what the F she wants. So she rolls it down. And my friend's trying to be nice. May we help? But I'm like, yeah, may I help you? The girl very sad with an accent. Can you give me a ride to Burger King? I'm very hungry. And we just said, well, no, I'm sorry, we can't. She repeats this. She repeats this a good 2-3 times. And but I'm very hungry, she keeps saying. I said, look, I'm sorry. If you would have kept walking, you would have been there already.
Did she have a strange way of phrasing words at all?
No, but accent, the thick accent, but very monotone way of speaking.
How would
making us try to feel sorry for her, kind of, but I'm very hungry. Why can't you give me a ride? I said, listen, I'm sorry, keep walking, you're almost there. So then she says, but what are you doing? What are you doing sitting here? Is this your house? And I'm mad now because I don't like nosy people. If I told you no, it's no is no. So I said, no, we're waiting for someone. I didn't want her knowing that's my house, but, something told me she knew that was my house. Something just told me that.
How was her mannerisms?
Just calm, looking very innocent, trying to... I think her whole MO was to make it seem like, I'm innocent,
Again,
I'm all right. Let me in,
So again, we get back to, of course, when we talk to the BEK, it's all about being invited, and how can you, and how do you make yourself appeal to someone to trust you to let them in? So you have someone that looks like they're from the neighborhood, just around the age you were probably comfortable with, and just asking for an innocent, give me a ride. Well, I guess it's weird, for anyone to ask you that at 2:30 in the morning, but.
And saying I'm hungry, and, a lot of people can't refuse, if someone says I'm hungry. And then at one point she goes, but I'll give you $5. And now that got me mad even more, because like I said, I'm the type of person, if I told you no once, don't keep coming at me with some other, propositions. That's just how I am. And my friend, who's a lot nicer than I am, she starts giving her an explanation. But it's just that it's 2:30 in the morning. We don't know you. Now I cut her off. I hit her in the arm. I go, you don't have to explain anything to her. I go, no, I'm sorry, can't help you. Call the police if you need help. Sorry. And I go, okay, let's go home. Like I say to my friend, to make it seem like we're gonna go, that we're going home. We don't live here.
Yeah.
So during this entire verbal interchange, obviously, this mystery girl is standing pretty close to the window, and I mean, you clearly see like she has no whites to her eyes at all.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty significant.
Yeah. So then what happened? We were scared, but I didn't want to show. I was. So as I told my friend to roll back her window back up, and we said, let's make sure she kept going this time, And, same thing. We turned our head, gone, disappeared.
And just to put this in perspective, would you say she was like of a smaller build?
Thin, very thin. She looked about, could have been like 5'4", 5'5", just like if part of the neighborhood, kind of, because that was an Asian neighborhood. So
just from a physical standpoint, averagely, like a normal person fitting that description, that's not something that would scare you at all. I mean, like you said, you're a fighter, right?
Right. Yeah.
So would you say that there was something about her, something that you couldn't see with your eyes, aside from the fact she had black eyes, but there was something about her that you can't explain that just really made you scared, like abnormally scared?
Yeah, there was something inside me made me scared. And, you're looking at her. There were other things about her that we didn't, think about at the time, but we saw, afterwards, we talked about it. She had a big red mark on her neck. I don't know if that's a birthmark or what. It was about 1.5 inches, 2 inch in diameter, right smack dab, right in the middle of her neck. I don't know what that was. Could have just been a birthmark, you know?
Like in the front of her throat, you mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, and
And it
it
wasn't
was
like a
circular?
hickey. It wasn't a hickey because I know what that looks like. You know, it wasn't black and blue. It was red, reddish. You know,
And you say it was a circular red mark?
circular. Yeah, yeah. And my friend was concerned because she had a big pocketbook with her, but like to me, I don't think anything. That wasn't the issue. My friend kept thinking that she might have had a knife in there, or whatever. But yeah. So and yeah. So my friend says to me, you know what? Thank God you're in the car with me because I would have felt sorry. I would have let her in the car. And I said to my friend, I don't give a shit if she was crying on her knees, begging. All I know is she wasn't getting in the car. That's all I know. And I said, I don't know why, but that girl was dead. And I never in my life ever used those words in my life. I don't know where those words came from, but I said, I don't know what it was, but that girl was dead.
And there was a very interesting detail that you guys...
Yes. Yeah. We realized, you remember it was raining? The girl didn't have an umbrella. She did not get wet.
just passed on through her.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we got this very strange woman. I mean, she really does fit the classic description of how these BEK or black-eyed children encounters typically go, except for the fact that, of course, she was, 18 and Asian, as opposed to most of the stories we hear. So let's jump back now into, you had this encounter, and you're with this, just to dot the lines for anybody who got lost here. You're with your new sister-in-law that you just realized you had. She's into all this weird ritual stuff, and she had just done this. I should mention she just done this thing with the car, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like supposedly for protection.
Yeah, which almost sounds now like she got it primed for something. So
yes.
So let's jump back into that part of the story.
Okay, which part? Where she did with the incense?
Okay, yeah, let's go right back to. Okay, actually, I guess we're I don't know why I'm saying jump back. We're going right forward in the story. Okay, yeah.
Because the next morning I did call my sister. Don't forget, we were friends at the time. We got kind of close too. I was spending a lot of time with her, and she did this thing we thought was so great. So sweet of her, so thoughtful. So the next morning, I called her up, and I was about to tell her what happened after she burnt the incense, and she cut me off, and she told me she won't believe the dream I had last night, and she dreamt. She's telling me this dream about a girl walking in the rain, and now my hair's standing. I go, what was she wearing? She described this girl to a T.
So she just
same
describes.
Haircut, yep.
So she does the incense with the car. You have this experience, and then she dreams the exact same thing that happened.
Yes, yeah. I had the chills. So I proceeded. She goes, you won't believe it, but guess I was just about to tell you, what happened to us. Now, how she wanted to get in the car. She wanted to ride to Burger King, and how she wanted, she was hungry. So she goes, did you let her in? I said, no, there was no way I was letting this thing in. She says to me, it was a good thing you didn't let her in. So I'm thinking still, wow, this girl, I felt comforted because I thought she was my friend at the time. I was getting close with her.
Yeah, you didn't really put it all together at this point.
Not at that point, no.
Okay.
So so that was the incident. Okay, now we're going to go back to fast forward her mourning period, which is a 49-day mourning period where they can't meet or go on vacation or do anything like that. As soon as that was the 49 days of mourning was over, that's when I took her to Montreal. That's when she wanted to get the fox's vagina, the bear balls, and everything. We were staying in the hotel at the time. My best friend and my other best friend and I which is a guy, the three of us stayed in a hotel room. And one morning, I woke up to go to the bathroom, and, there's a coffee pot in there. I was going to make myself a cup of coffee. And I see her on her bed, awake, but like in this trance, looking up in a trance, playing with the beads around her neck, saying some kind of chant, but it was hard to, like, it was just weird, but guess what? Her eyes were open and they were black.
She was the speaking of epitome of exactly the kind of person you saw.
Yeah, yeah. I remember seeing her like that and like kind of like rolling around doing this chant and this trance, and I remember saying to myself, "Oh my God, what's wrong with her eyes?" You know. But I kind of just didn't. I left her, and I just thought that was weird, and yeah. Then I put it all. You know, that's later on. I kind of figured out my theory on this whole thing. Do you want me to
Sure.
tell you what it is?
Sure.
My theory is, and by the way, I'm positive I'm right, that she conjured this thing up that night.
And that's the thing that you got me the first time you told me. It still kind of gets me now.
Yeah.
And for everybody out there listening, I really want you to look at what this possibility represents here. You know, as long as anyone's heard the black-eyed children, it's always been, you know, like they show up at your door. Where do they come from? You know, that kind of a thing. What if they were conjured up? You know, what if they, and that's why their mannerisms are weird. That's why they can disappear. That's why they, everything about them is almost dreamlike, right? I mean, they look three-dimensional, but they're off. Like, everybody can tell they're off.
Yeah, something was off, and like I said, I never saw her again in the neighborhood. I never saw her before, I never saw her after.
So it's almost, like you said, like it could have been testing you, but it was like she was spying on you, you know, from a conjured up spirit. I mean, that really is something. You know, I mean...
It's the chills, yes.
Well, for me, I think the most significant factor to consider here is that, at least for myself and all the different black-eyed kid tales that I've heard, I have never heard of an external circumstance outside of that, you know, encounter by itself that was linked to the encounter with the black-eyed kids. And here we have an instance where it really does appear that there seems to be a strong paranormal, ceremonial, religious, whatever you want to call it, link to the black-eyed kids phenomenon. I mean, everything has been pure speculation. Is it UFO? Is it some kind of men in black? Are they specters? Are they demons? What are they?
Well,
and I guess, you know, this is the first time for me that there's been something outside of just black-eyed children showing up at your door.
Well, what if that is the origin? You know, like they're conjured up, and maybe that's why their eyes are black, because like they don't have a soul. You know, they're hollow manifestations. You know,
exactly.
You know, and it's a really creepy. You know, it really gave my wife the chills when I actually kind of been teasing her with it every now and when she has to leave by herself, and I'll like, don't let the you know, the Asian black-eyed woman get you, that kind of a thing. So, I mean, now, and it goes further than that, though. I mean, we have this. I mean, this is something that you picked up after the fact, and you piece it together. But, I mean, you know, just when we were speaking, and we spoke on over the phone there not too long ago, and in the process of you telling us this story, you know, the connection went out twice for me. Which is so unlikely. You know, it just don't normally happen. And of course, the second time, actually, your voice even dropped in I guess it almost sounded like a pitch shifted downwards as it clicked off.
Wow.
Now, you told me that even when you talked about this, like you had someone you went out with, and you were in like I believe it was a restaurant or.
Yeah, we were in a cafe, and I was just one of the rare times I tell this story, because I don't really tell it to too many people, but I knew that he understood. We were in a cafe, and I'm telling him this whole story, and do you know, the light bulb, not directly above us, but to my left, to his right, bursted. Not just turned off, it bursted, like exploded.
And you believe it was because, you know, she could hear.
Oh, yeah, because even he said, you know, she knows we're talking about her right now. And he said it, not me.
Do you ever feel like she's, ever pays you visits? Like she's.
Yes, I am positive the first, uh, maybe the first year or so that I've known after my brother's death, I've been attacked in my sleep. Like I hear something like in my sleep, like weird white noise and speaking in tongues, kind of, like almost like they're trying to get my soul, kind of a thing. But it didn't work because I fought it off.
So, and to do this, I believe you said you'd pray and.
Through prayer, yes.
So,
I'm not religious. I don't go to church, but I pray. I do believe in God and Jesus, and yes, and it works.
So when this happens, is this like, are you asleep when this happens?
Yeah, I'm dead asleep. Yeah, but somehow I know, like I hear it's going on, but I'm a bit paralyzed, and I hear like I'm being attacked, and yeah.
So it's almost like sleep paralysis, but you're aware, you're being attacked, and you just can't move. So you're conscious.
But you're also hearing like demon sounds as well. You know what I mean?
Okay. So she has.
I'm sorry. How would you describe demon sounds?
Like like how you have it's a combination of white noise. Like let's say back in the day when your your TV station they're signing off and all you see is like the white noise. Like there's no what do you call it, reception.
Just the static.
Yeah.
Yeah, a loud hard static, but maybe voices at the same time, and not just one voice, like 3 or 4 voices going on at the same time, speaking gibberish kind of stuff.
And kind of, do they sound at all out of pitch with one another? Like, that's the way I would describe.
Well, like I say, it sounded demonic. Like I knew something wasn't right. Like and the weird part was, it was like, yes, I was afraid, but I was fighting it, and I do prayer. It takes time though. It stops and then it comes back, and it stops and it comes back. But through you keep fighting, and I was able to fight it off.
So you say that you're not religious, per se. Would you say that the experience of hearing those noises and being confronted with that, do you think that kind of inspired almost a instinctual religiousness in you that would trigger you to start praying?
Yeah, because when I was younger, although we didn't go to, it was, my family, they're of a Buddhist background too, but not like heavy. So that's why I didn't understand all the stuff that she was doing. It was more like culture and tradition. But as a child, and it was my choice, my brothers and I, we would go to like church, like Sunday school on our own. Like we liked it. That was our choice. It wasn't something that was forced upon. We liked going. So, so I learned, about Christianity and everything. But like I never really went every Sunday, to be honest. I don't even go on to Mass. I don't go on Easter. But I do pray. I pray every day.
I think that's all you really need.
Yeah,
going to a building, to me, don't really.
Yeah.
But going back to the story there, now, so you were already kind of convinced that she had killed your brother, and by like going through the whole story, like it really does sound like, you put it together, and it almost sounds like she would have done some kind of ritual or something. She was very cold about it afterwards. It just kind of
yeah.
And so, that being the case, why do you think that she latched on to you afterwards? Shouldn't she feel like she'd done enough? Why would she come after you?
Well, I think she kind of knew. Well, I guess because the friend, the one from California that said I had all this power, and she was trying to cover up everything that she did. I guess they kind of knew that I kind of had suspicions. That's what I'm thinking. So she did everything along the way to kind of not only play me, and when I say play me, it was they also knew that I could help her in some way, because they were fighting. She and the first wife was fighting for the insurance money.
Yes.
So there was something that I could probably help her with, or side with her to help her get some part of that money. Although I don't think she meant to kill my brother that soon because he was about to change the name on the beneficiary, which he never got around to because he died like the next day they got married.
So, I mean, I can understand, I can understand it as much as I don't agree with it. Women, or not just women, I guess people in general, trying to kill their spouse for money. I mean, it's a terrible, terrible thing, but it's not a new concept.
Mm-hmm.
But to chase you after the fact, and I mean, do you ever feel her like these days? Like, I mean, now is there any time where you're like,
in the past year, I have been, okay, that was over there when I was still living in the United States. Now I'm in Canada. In the past year, I have felt attacked in my sleep, but I kind of am not sure if it's her unless she's looking for me. But all I know is when after that trip to Montreal, all I know is that she stopped coming around. I never saw her again. I did call her. That was me calling her. She never called us. I did call her 2 weeks afterwards to kind of like make her, I think she already knew that I knew. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I was trying to play it cool. I did call her after 2 weeks, and, come to find out she's into this thing, something else, which confirms that how cold she is. That was it. I never physically saw her after that. She never came around. I mean, she's not even to see my mother,
Yeah, so she was there for one thing. She got what she wanted. She was gone.
Yeah, she did receive a chunk of money from the insurance policy, not the